Hi, this is Bianca Amato, narrator of The White Princess by Philippa Greggory. The White Princess is the fourth in the series of the Cousins' Wars. Philippa Greggory has written from the women's perspective throughout the War of the Roses. And this particular book is from the perspective of Elizabeth, who was daughter of Edward IV and Elizabeth Woodville. Elizabeth is different from the other characters that I've narrated for Philippa Greggory in that she's portrayed in this particular take as a very sane, patient, solid character. She doesn't have her own vicious agenda as many of the women in this period did or had to in order to survive. I mean, she does. She needs to hold on to her position, but she doesn't seem to be somebody who is particularly ambitious in her own right. She is, as many of the women in this period of history in England, have very little power except to manipulate and through their bloodlines, so they're often used as pawns. She seems to go with her duty, in inverted commas, without much struggle, which sometimes leads me to think, how do you sustain this over the years? But, this was their reality. I like her. I do feel as though she's sort of blown by the winds of the politics around her, and in particular has to deal with a really not very endearing husband. But there's something very earthy about her, solid and intelligent, and we relate to her immediately. In her novels, Philippa makes historical figures very accessible. I mean, just from the perspective of the individual women, and to be able to follow this experience through their eyes already puts you in a very, familiar position. I feel like she's really in tune with the emotional journey and is very adept at relaying that. And it allows for a way in. Philippa is carving out her own story from the evidence that she has, and really allowing for all of these characters in history to breathe and to have perspective that is richer and greater and more filled out than just the sort of mercenary insanity that it looks like from the outside. I mean, frankly, it begins to feel like beyond perverse evil that was so pervasive in this time, this sort of power-grabbing, Machiavellian brutality that was happening in England at the time. So it's really interesting to sort of tease it out from a human perspective and understand the necessity to hold on to the throne no matter what through the women of this period.